In December 1999, Indian Airlines Flight 814 was hijacked and grounded in Kandahar. To secure the release of the terrified passengers, the Indian government had to negotiate directly with the hijackers, ultimately surrendering 3 high-profile militants. The consequences of that exchange were immediate. One of those released militants quickly mobilized a new network and helped orchestrate the 2001 attack on the Indian parliament, bringing armed conflict directly to the seat of the nation's democracy. 7 years later, the pattern repeated. A coordinated multi-day siege across Mumbai was broadcast live for 60 hours, culminating in the image of a burning Taj Mahal Palace hotel. For decades, these events left a lingering psychological scar. The public watched institutional failures and diplomatic gridlock prevent any direct, decisive retaliation. The individuals responsible remained safe and out of reach across the border. That persistent sense of helplessness built up a massive, unmet demand for closure. It created a psychological vacuum, waiting for someone to offer a rewritten history where the state finally strikes back. That closure eventually arrived in theaters. The Dhurandhar film franchise debuted to massive crowds, pulling in nearly 3,000 crore rupees at the global box office and breaking commercial records. The plot offers a specific alternative history. Instead of relying on foreign policy or UN sanctions, Indian intelligence recruits a single black ops asset and drops him deep behind enemy lines in Pakistan to systematically hunt down the masterminds. By turning diplomatic frustration into kinetic action, the filmmakers engineered a revenge fantasy. It provided audiences with the uncompromising catharsis that reality had denied them for 25 years. The story centers on Jaskirat Singh Rangi, a young man from Punjab. After a local political dispute leaves his family destroyed, he hunts down the perpetrators, murders them, and lands on death row with nothing left to lose. While awaiting execution, he is quietly extracted from prison by the head of the intelligence bureau. The director sees value in Jaskirat's lethal skill set and redirects his personal rage into a classified state mission. To ground this plot, the film models its fictional spy master heavily on real-life National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. By mimicking his familiar mannerisms and aesthetic cues, the movie borrows authority from actual Indian intelligence operations. Stripped of his past, Jaskirat assumes the new identity of Hamza Ali Mazari and slips through the Torkham border crossing, embedding himself in hostile territory. By fusing a man's raw personal vendetta with a top-secret government directive, the narrative effectively sanitizes the bloodshed. The protagonist's brutal actions are framed as a patriotic duty. Operating as Hamza, the agent infiltrates the fractured criminal syndicates running the streets of Lyari in Karachi. He works his way up the ranks by manipulating local rivalries. This deception culminates in a bloody betrayal. Hamza turns on his own underworld boss, Rehman Dakait, executing him and seizing total control of the local mafia. Now reigning as the area's top kingpin under the title Sher-e-Baloch, Hamza utilizes his massive criminal network to systematically target and assassinate the architects of anti-India terror, many of whom are thinly veiled analogues of actual historical militants. To blur the line between action movie and documentary, the director deploys an aggressive narrative mechanic, splicing real-world political milestones directly into the fiction. Actual archival footage of the 2014 Prime Ministerial Oath Ceremony is used to signal a regime change within the film's universe, suggesting the new government has finally authorized Hamza to take the gloves off. The script even incorporates the 2016 Indian banknote demonetization. Instead of framing it as domestic economic policy, the movie portrays the sudden cash ban as a calculated tactical strike, designed specifically to freeze the bank accounts of Hamza's targets. Injecting recognizable news clips into a Black Ops fantasy forces the viewer to process fiction as recent history. It synchronizes the audience's emotional highs with a specific, state-aligned geopolitical worldview. This potent mixture of fact and aggressive fantasy paid off. By delivering absolute, uncompromising closure, the duology shattered records and became the second highest-grossing Indian film franchise ever made. In the final moments, Hamza completes his mission, but chooses to abandon his family, remaining a ghost in the shadows to protect his nation. It is a calculated emotional crescendo that left theatergoers standing and cheering. Yet, critics and sociologists quickly pointed out the darker mechanics driving this success. The narrative relies heavily on coding specific religious and cultural markers as inherent threats. The film's sound design frequently layers Islamic phrases over moments of impending violence. By consistently pairing these cultural markers with the geography of danger, it creates a cumulative association between specific identities and imminent threat. This repetition builds a loop that transforms historical trauma into a reflex, where audiences stop questioning the threat's source and demand absolute moral certainty. Dhurandhar highlights a shift in how mass audiences engage with national history. Given the choice between the unresolved reality of an intelligence failure and a meticulously crafted fantasy of revenge, the record-breaking box office shows which one the public is more likely to buy.